All right. Well, hey, good afternoon, everyone. Rick Garcia, G12 Communications, launching your Everything Teams Phone Live, episode 9. We've got an awesome MVP join us right now, Mr. Josh Blalock. Welcome to episode 9, Josh. He's going to talk about a whole bunch of cool stuff, and this is exciting to kind of give him the platform and have him show off what's going on in his world. So before we do that, I'm going to bring it right back to Mr. Brandon Bradley, our co-host and Chief Technology Officer of G12 Communications. Brandon, what's up?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our viewers, and welcome, Josh. We're looking forward to the show.
Thank you. You know, it's interesting. Here we are broadcasting worldwide, and I'm sitting right here in Sammamish, Washington. You know, if you had a Teams leadership, a Microsoft Teams leadership conference, you could probably have it right here in my town, Sammamish, Washington. No kidding. Where are you guys at?
I am in Alabama, small town in Alabama, kind of right on the border of Georgia. Central time zone, so it's I get to like live in the central time zone but have everything happen in Eastern time. It's I don't advise it. All
right. Don't advise it. So small town in Alabama, Sammamish, Washington. Brandon, where are you at, buddy?
I'm in Denver, Colorado. So I fight the same thing. I've got to appease the Pacific Coast people and the Central and East Coast. So I'm kind of stuck in the middle with you, Josh.
Yeah. And I said small town, but Auburn would be about the best way to describe where I'm near. So most people are familiar with Auburn if you're football fans or whatever. So.
Yes. Who was their coach a few years back? Wasn't he the guy that's like, man, I can't remember who he was back in the day.
I don't know because I'm not a football fan, which is kind of a dangerous thing living here. But it's I try to blend in and pretend like I care. So
there you go.
It's not Josh. It's not very often I run into people that are like me, not big football fans, and I obviously live where I'm assumed to be a Broncos fan, and I go, who are the Broncos?
I know.
We're just excited that we traded Russell away to you guys. All right. Well, listen, everyone, we're here to talk about Microsoft Teams and what it can do for your organization, or if you were a partner, what it can do for your business, because obviously the chatter out is Microsoft Teams Phone, Microsoft Teams in general, in every organization. The numbers are massive. They're growing every single day. We see it as an organization that does UCaaS and Microsoft Teams Phone. It's phenomenal. The attention it gets, but we're going to tell you exactly why it is getting that attention. But before we do that, we're going to let Josh Blalock tell us about what he does, who he is, and why he's here. Josh.
Awesome. Thank you. As you mentioned earlier, Microsoft MVP, been an MVP about 6 years. I started focusing in on, Link and Skype for Business content a while back. The whole career has been a Microsoft-centric career up to this point where it's taking a broader video approach at the moment. But that's the nature of where I've specialized and focused on in the Microsoft MVP realm. I just joined Jabra 5-6 weeks ago as their Chief Video Evangelist, a new role there, but we'll cover a little bit of it later. They've got some awesome new and kind of newish and new upcoming video products. They have been very well known in audio space for those of us that pay attention to Teams devices. But video is relatively new in Jabra land. So I'm here to help kind of tell that story on social media and beyond. It's kind of cool. I've never been in a marketing organization now, so I'm learning how to put on that marketer hat. But that's just a little bit about the background, what my current role is. I did tell you that I would wear a hat if you sing a song. You didn't sing a song, but you played your guitar earlier.
That was the intro. That was the intro to bring you in, right? Like I was like, okay, hey, let me intro you with a little guitar tune, man.
I know. So this is the OG hat, and it's seen better days. It doesn't really work anymore, and
you've got the hat.
It's been used more often, but
there you go.
This was the last one.
And look at that.
So
look at that. Now you don't do football, but any roping, anything like that? Like, come on, let's like.
No, my wife is from Texas,
Okay.
so this was that first hat was a Christmas gift years ago, right as I was starting to get into doing video stuff, and yeah, it kind of just stuck. So the hat has evolved as they have worn out over time, but I just haven't worn one recently. But I told you I would for the show. So
There you go. There you go. Well, you know, just to kind of step back a little bit, Josh. I mean, yeah, I called you a YouTube sensation in our in the intro, and it's like your YouTube. Yeah, I mean, you do a fantastic job on YouTube. You get lots of attention on YouTube. And you do some really cool videos, and it's all surrounding the tech that we're all involved in. The reason why everyone's on the show visiting is to understand what do they need to do in their business, right? What do they need to do as a partner? And so I recognized the hat early on. I'm like, who's this cowboy dude? You know, doing some cool videos on tech, man. That's awesome. You know,
that was the hook. What's wrong with that guy? Now I got to watch that video. So
I was in after that. Subscribe, like, hit the doorbell, or hit the reminder bell. I'm in. So so that's awesome. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Josh. We're excited for you to show us the devices and the stuff that you're going to show us in a few slides down the way here. Joseph, thanks for joining from SoCal. That's awesome. Let's kick things off and roll into what we're talking about today. We're chatting Microsoft Teams, obviously, and rightfully so. The reason why Teams is taking sort of the industry by storm when it comes to Teams Phone is there's a lot of reasons, but let's just give you the quick numbers here. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. We're going to go through some of those things in a second, but the numbers are staggering. I show this slide nearly every time because in the last few years, Microsoft has essentially, I don't want to say gobbled up lines, but they have really gobbled up phone lines. It's just they've made the phone system over the last 2 years amazingly functional for businesses. And Brandon and I, when we started to dig into the feature set, I mean, Brandon, you've been in this business a long time. Were you just blown away at the feature set, having not looked at it in a while?
Yeah, and I mean, I think for me, it's how quick the evolution of features is with Microsoft versus the traditional sense of you look at the bigger names out there, and they've obviously all got rich feature sets, but look at how many years it's taken them to get to that feature set. Whereas Microsoft has taken their base phone system and it's just exploded. I mean, it's like overnight. It's just new feature after new feature, and that's what's exciting about it is the feature sets and where this thing's going to go. Especially when you look at what all they're doing, whether it's this video aspect or their open AI integration stuff. That's just going to enhance the phone system a magnitude faster than maybe a lot of the competitors will be able to keep up.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they do. They just come out. I mean, it's like if anyone watches Tom Arbno out there, MVP out of London. He's the co-founder of Empowering Cloud. I like to put the Empowering Cloud website up. So we'll post the Empowering Cloud website up for everyone. So everyone who's a Teams administrator, everyone who's looking at going into Teams, if you want to understand how a lot of different components work in Teams, Empowering Cloud, visit that website, take a look, sign in with your LinkedIn. It's super easy, but there's so much good quality information, particularly if you're an organization. There's two categories that I think are important. And Josh or Brandon, one of you guys want to throw that Empowering Cloud up, that'd be awesome. But basically, if you are an IT person and you need to take your organization into Microsoft Teams, guys, and we're going to get to some Microsoft Teams stuff like, centric stuff where you can see the portals and you can see stuff in gear. But if you're taking your organization into Microsoft Teams, you need to go to Empowering Cloud. There's a bunch of videos. They're 15-minute videos. So they give you quick information on what you need. You don't need to scour the internet. You don't need to scour YouTube for it. Go to Empowering Cloud and take a look at the videos there. They've got some of the most important things related to deploying a Microsoft Teams phone system in a 15-minute video in different sections. So you guys for sure hop onto that. And then obviously, if you are a partner, you get to learn about what organizations need and what organizations could use when it comes to deploying Microsoft Teams as a phone system. Anyway, lots of stuff here to talk about. The Forrester total economic impact of Microsoft Teams in an organization. Brandon, we've got the SMB customer here. What's he doing?
He's saving a lot of money if he switches to Teams. Like these numbers are pretty interesting, and obviously we've reviewed these. I think this is week 2 of reviewing these numbers, and I keep going back and reading this report. And the interesting thing that I'm finding is you've got your total cost of ownership is reduced, and that payback period is probably the smallest you'll see in the industry, right? Less than 6 months. And that's based on, when you read that whole Forrester report, it's based on, I think it was like a $9 per user per month phone license, not the Microsoft license, but the PSTN calling piece. And obviously we're in a space where we know that $9 is probably on the high side. So these numbers here, this is just a base, a baseline of what the potential cost savings really is, and maybe even what that payback period looks like.
I was going to say, is there anything out there that's a 6 month, an under 6 month payback? Like, anything that you buy in an organization, in a business, it's like there's very few things that you can buy that give you a 6 month payback, right?
I think the only way you're getting that is if you're still stuck on legacy, old school TDM, and you've never renewed your contracts for your T1 or PRI circuits, and you're just paying through the roof. But outside of that, I would say it's pretty hard to find that.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Oh, the way that organizations here, let me just say, there's a couple of things. The way that they really do, they quantify everything in those reports, but then they also show some unquantifiable information here. Josh, when organizations have the right gear in place, do you see happier customers and happier employees?
Obviously you do. You think about your IT folks that aren't having to deal with all the tickets about stuff not working in conference rooms, or this is broke, or that's not functioning the way I thought it was. When it's just easy and it just works like it's supposed to, and it's meeting certification standards, so what the expectation is going to be in the platform. It's sadly one of those thankless things, right? On the hardware side of it, that you don't think about how great the product is if it just works and does what you need it to do. But you certainly notice how good it's not if it's not working, not doing what you need it to do. And your IT organization is going to hear a lot about that, and it's going to be painful. So these are things that definitely come into play at the device level, at the platform level. When there's something to complain about, they'll complain hard. They may not sing your praises when they're just working without pain, but they will complain when things don't go the way you need them to. And it's hard to measure that.
It's true. It's true. What's funny is that if you're a partner out there, you probably get this right here. We used to sell UCaaS service on the term, or on the phrase, your phone's just going to work. You're just going to pick up your phone and it's just going to work, right? When handsets were the thing, right? And now with the equipment that you're bringing to town, it's like, it just works, right? You stick your headset on, it just works, right? You get your video and you click your button. How many times has anyone walked into a meeting room, a conference room, and you're like, well, we got this cool screen, this big TV, but I have no clue how to connect up to that. I have no clue how to make this technology work. So, and then someone else comes along.
17 cables on the table, and there's
right.
I don't know what you're doing here.
And someone comes along behind you and says, okay, let's connect this right here. And you get the remote control, and you're like hitting the remote control up, right? That I guarantee you that still happens in like 90% of conference rooms when, someone else has to come in and help. Maybe it's just me, but they have to come in and help me figure that out.
No, it is. It's all over the place. And that is one of the biggest asks when customers are out. We're talking specifically rooms at this point, but when customers are outfitting their rooms, one of the biggest asks is ease of use and simplicity. They need the consistent experience, cost, and all these things, but it just needs to work easily, simply. That's it. They don't want the headache. They don't want to deal with the headache. So it just needs to work. It's very common across a large number of customers.
Well, exactly. So here's the next slide, guys, and we're gonna roll right into some cool stuff. Josh is gonna go crazy on this next couple of slides here, so I'm pretty excited. But here's what customers are asking for, right? So it just needs to work, those sorts of things. I mean, that's pretty prevalent in the small biz, as an example. Provide better customer service, right? That's what they're expecting from their providers. Whether you're this is specific to telecom, right? So for your phone vendor, you just want it to work, man. You just want good customer service. When it doesn't, it's like if someone's nice to you and treats you well, you just want it to work, right? Make it easy for employees to collaborate. See, they made that one just for me. That slide, that number 2 is make it easy. It's just for me. Make it easier for employees to work from anywhere. Your company is 500 to 250, or I'm sorry, 50 to 250. Work from anywhere. Better customer service is still right there. They still want you to treat them well. And then greater integration between fixed and mobile communications. Got it. But now we get into the 250 and over. And there's some interesting things in here. Easier for businesses to grow or contract as needed, right? Some granular control. Microsoft Teams gives them unprecedented control of their system when it comes to users up and down, and it's super simple to manage, right, Brandon? From an AD perspective, I mean, it's just you get it all in there.
The cool thing about it is it's consumption based, right? So you scale as you consume, and Microsoft isn't penalizing you for that. Whereas a lot of vendors, they want to put you on the hook for you need to give us a minimum commit, and Microsoft isn't looking for that. They're going to allow you to flex.
Yeah, get in, get on, use what you need to use, and off we go. This is where it starts to get pretty interesting. Improve business continuity, disaster recovery, security, better analytics, automation of the customer journey. Like, those are all interesting, right? I mean, when I looked at that slide that had those 3 things about happier customers, happier employees, things like that, I think about the customer journey, right? The customer interaction. I think about how easy is it for a customer to engage with a vendor, right?
Yeah.
And the tools that are available to you in Microsoft Teams, and we haven't even touched on it. I think I took those slides out when it comes to Azure Communication Services and Power Automate. And this is the ecosystem that Microsoft Teams Phone lives in. And organizations have access to all this stuff, right? Power BI for granular reporting. Enterprises have access to all this. Here's what's cool about this, though, right? I'm going to go back to this 0 to 49. The enterprises want this stuff, right? This, customer journey and disaster recovery and contraction and expansion, right? But the small customer has access to the same exact feature set that a Fortune 500 company has via Microsoft Teams. And that's what makes this such a ubiquitous platform. When I think about why it is consuming so many voice lines across the world, it's because it's ubiquitous. You get amazing features and services, and it's available to everyone to consume, which makes it just a killer platform. Well, it's your time, buddy. Josh, are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk a little bit about some Jabra stuff happening here.
There's some Jabra stuff. So the symbiosis was something that Satya said on his AI and machine sort of, a human sort of pulling together with computers and creating this symbiosis, right? Well, Gear and Teams Phone are symbiotic.
They are. They are.
Need to give you some little streamers there for your hands.
And not to be confused with the bike streamers, the little pink ones that hang off of my 10-speed, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right, Josh, take it away, man. What do you have for us?
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. Their devices, especially on the telephony side, you've got, your phones and then your headsets if you're using soft phone instead of physical phone. So devices go hand in hand there. Certainly headsets become a very important part of the conversation in the telephony space. But more and more as this hybrid world continues to take shape and each company decides and figures out what hybrid means to them, they are discovering more and more that we don't just need to address our telephony system. We actually have to look at these rooms. We actually have to think about the hybrid workers who are attending meetings from various places, airports, on the go. And there's a lot to think about and consider at the device level when it comes to that. So very true statement. A couple of things I'll just cover here. Again, like I said earlier in the call, Jabra is very well known, in my opinion, I believe that of many, for their audio products. I mean, they have been creating certified headsets of all shapes and sizes, earbuds, speakerphones. They were the ones that brought about the category of the speakerphone in the first place, the puck that we're all familiar with. And they're very well known in that space. Video, relatively new for Jabra. They've had the PanaCast 50, which you see on screen there. And I'm just going to, you actually see two of them behind me back this way. I got a couple of room systems set up, but for frame of reference on size, this is the size of the PanaCast 50 that's got your onboard cameras, mics, and speakers. And the cool thing about this camera, a unique thing to Jabra, is that there are 3 cameras, and it gives you 180.
Yeah, I was like, do you need to turn that this way? Is like, so the tube is the other way, but no, that's actually the right way. That's awesome.
It is. And it's because it gives you 180-degree field of view, which is a unique thing in the conference room space. You think about these small conference rooms, small to medium size, where maybe the table is right up against the wall and you got the display there and you want chairs to go all around that table. And then the people at the very front of the table, they're left out of the picture. They're kind of half cropped out, or they're just not included. The 180 degrees gives you that whole feel. But what happens behind the scene is all 3 of those images are stitched together with AI behind the scene to provide a seamless, non-fisheyed image in the meeting. So that it doesn't look like you get this bending picture of the room. It looks like a natural room, but you're missing absolutely nothing from it.
Man, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a unique device. And on top of that, it's got a lot of other edge AI. And when I say edge AI, that's really important because we're talking about all the compute happening on the device, not on your computer that's already running Teams and a number of other things. You need to offload that. And that's where the edge AI comes into place to do dynamic composition for your Brady Bunch squares. You've got virtual director to follow to whoever the active speaker is in the room, frame them in. Intelligent framing, maybe you don't need 180 degrees. You just need the people sitting in the room. So a lot of different options there on top of the, as always, super impressive audio. So what we see on screen there, PanaCast 50 room system, that's actually a whole system, a Windows-based room system where we partner with Lenovo to bring the compute and the touch controller to the table. But what I don't have on screen here, and I don't think it's on the next one either, is the upcoming, hopefully in June, PanaCast 50 video bar system. And that's Jabra's foray into Microsoft Teams rooms on Android. Really exciting announcement that came out at ISE. So now whether a customer wants to go Windows or Android, we're there. We got that. Nice. But let's break down some of these numbers really quick here because there's some interesting stats. So as we look at that 81%, we're really talking about the number of employees that claim hybrid work model is going to help them be more effective, enable them to switch up their spaces and schedules to better suit different working models. Now, these stats, they come out of a Jabra Global report from 2022. So these numbers may be slightly different this year, right? But 80% of meetings we discovered were either fully remote or hybrid. Only 20% of meetings were actually happening in those rooms only. That's a lot of meetings that are just no longer taking place in only a room.
Right.
And then a third of hybrid workers often feel that they are left out of conversations when it comes to these meetings. So that's a pretty 33% of people feeling like they're not a part of the meeting or the collaboration. That's a big problem to solve for. Everyone should feel equally represented at the table. Now, the row below, 61%, that's the number of employees that say they feel more included when there are people having their cameras turned on. So that's kind of an interesting stat, right? And it's a hot button topic because a lot of people especially prior to the pandemic, were not comfortable with doing video. Video wasn't that prevalent. It was in Teams or Zoom or wherever, but people just didn't use it that much.
I've got a question, Josh. This is just kind of an opinion type question. So, I find that, some people, it's hard to encourage them to turn their video on. And I'm sure you've heard that a lot too. So how do you how do you go about encouraging someone to get that video on so that they can feel included? Because it's kind of like, in the meeting room that you were talking about the 180 where you see the whole room. I remember back in the day working for a massive global company, finding the blind spot in the room, just like not wanting to turn my video on.
Yeah.
So how do you motivate someone to get that video on and kind of push through that discomfort of, oh, I feel so vulnerable? And maybe you don't have an opinion. I have one, but
there's some opinion to it. I think a lot of it is company culture, and there's almost this peer pressure thing that happens where you get on a call where no one's got their video on, and someone jumps on the call with the video turned on. And then shortly after that, you see one other person decided, oh, I'll flip my video on. And then others feel like, oh, I kind of have to turn my video on. So there's almost kind of this trickle effect that seems to happen. You think back to COVID, though, honestly, a lot of organizations made it a almost rule, but a more strongly encouraged part of their company culture to turn on video when they didn't know when it was going to be that they were actually going to see each other in person again. They're like, look, we can't just not see each other and not have this human connection. We all need to get on video a lot more. So that was another big catalyst for video becoming more of it. But honestly, encouraging people to do it outside of I think the natural trickle effect that happens when those around them are using their video, it's hard because there is just a certain segment of people that are just not comfortable. There's for whatever that reason is, and it's a debate that goes on and on. They just aren't. Even if everybody else is, they don't like it. They don't like the way they feel on the camera. Whatever it is, they don't want to. Microsoft is trying to address that in some part with the mesh avatars, right? That's kind of an alternative to people not having their camera on, and instead they're like, look, I can still feel kind of visually represented without having to actually get on camera. So that's one way. Whether or not that's going to be effective, time shall tell. I've got my own opinion on that isn't mainstream, so I'll just
I almost feel like a video bully now that I'm listening to all this because I get on a meeting I get on a meeting and I address like the 5 people that are video on, and then you see the little circles off to the right with the initials, and you completely forget about those guys. You're like, oh, I'm so sorry, John, how's it going? I apologize I didn't address you like in the first 10 seconds when I said hello to the 5 people that were on video. So I almost feel like
it's a problem. You naturally, as the one speaking, are drawn to the ones that you feel like you're engaging. You feel less like you're engaging someone that doesn't have their video on when everyone else does.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to that stat, 61% inclusion.
Yeah.
The approach I try to take, and I know Rick and I have talked about this briefly in history past of, it's kind of like the old adage where, the whole saying is make your bed at the beginning of every day because you'll be more productive. And I think video culture also brings productivity it's just like you need to get dressed and be presentable to go to the office the same way that you probably want to be dressed and presentable to be on camera. Yeah. And to me, that's also a mental exercise that those less engaged employees start to find out is, oh my gosh, I mentally am in a better place. I feel like I'm not just stuck at home. So that's kind of my opinion. I take that approach of, what does it actually do for your psyche to get that video on?
Yeah. And these stats build on that. What would help people? That 70% of people are saying, look, I feel like if we kind of standardized on what we're using for video, if we had kind of because some of it is like, I don't like the way I feel. And maybe I don't like the way I feel on video because I'm using my laptop camera and that angle is coming up, which isn't always the flattering angle. And the lighting isn't that great. and it's grainy, and they just feel like they're being represented in such a non-ideal way when other people on meeting have this nice, crisp, clear, properly positioned picture.
Well, mine's pointed down, showing my receding hairline, so it's a lose-lose for me.
But there's only so much we can do with the camera.
Up for the double chin, down for the receding hairline.
So those are some of the stats, and going into video, there's a couple other little devices I'll call out really quick. The one you see on there, that's the OG, that's the original Jabra Panicast. This is what that looks like in person.
Oh, wow, that's so small. Look at that.
It's a lot smaller than you would think from that. It's personal in size, right? So you can use this as a personal device, but it's also really good for your huddle spaces, some of those small rooms paired with the speakerphone. But 180 degrees on that one too. All the AI living on board that.
Can you control that? Can you control the zoom on that? So let's say you did want to use it as a personal device and go, okay, the field of view is too wide. Let me shrink it up for this particular, can you do that?
Yeah. You'd open up Jabra Direct software that you can get from Jabra, and then it's got settings in there. You want Zoom to be turned on? Great. If you want to manually adjust that, you can do that in there. Lots of adjustments that can be made. I can get myself in trouble with I try to make minimal adjustments so that I don't go crazy with it, but absolutely. And same thing with this guy, which is actually what I'm using right now. I'm using the Panicast 20, and that's what this is. It's, a little bit different form factor. It's not 180 degrees. It does have a nice wide field of view regardless, but it lets you do picture in picture so that you can demo things at your desk while keeping yourself in that little inset picture. It lets you do auto framing and zooming. It's got light correction and all that kind of stuff baked in there. And they both have mounting holes at the bottom so that you can use a standard little tripod like I'm doing now to put that camera eye level with me. And there's actually a SKU that Jabra sells, the Meet Anywhere bundles. The Meet Anywhere Plus comes with a stand to allow you to set up wherever you go with optimal height, video, and the audio comes with that bundle. So
nice. Okay, I'm going to go back real quick to the Panicast 50, that bar with the camera on there for a second. So, is there anything else that is that just you got a video, like an HDMI cable coming out of there, and is that it?
Yeah, you got your USB connection that'll go back to the compute in the room. Yeah. But you've got an Ethernet cable back there if you want to manage this with our management software, Express. What else we got back there? We've got the HDMI is actually going to come out of the compute in the room, right?
Oh, okay. So there's a core. There's some sort of little core PC.
Yeah. So if the Jabra Panicast 50 room system, this is the Panicast 50. The room system is the Lenovo PC. Paired with the Panicast 50 and then the Lenovo touchscreen. And that is the Jabra Panicast 50 room system. Crestron is also a partner on the compute side as well. But that's where your HDMI is going to be coming out of.
Got it. I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. So what does that roughly run? What is that, if you MSRP sort of thing, or just kind of, broad range?
You are putting me on the spot because I don't know off the top of my head quite where this is sitting right now. I'm going to take a rough estimate and say that I think it's between 1,000 and 1,500 is, I believe, where it sits, but I don't know exactly where that falls at the moment. The room system is obviously additional because that's with your compute, your touch controller. But gosh, I'd have to pull up the website.
That's okay. That's okay. Here we go. We've got the discount code going into it's a Josh Blalock on Everything Teams Live discount code. $1,000 out
free
the
for
door.
the first 100 people.
That's right. That's awesome. That's fantastic though. Those are cool. I mean, that little Jabra Panicast, that to me, that's pretty cool. It's so much smaller. I'm looking at the slide with you and it's so much smaller than I thought. And you could, if you can just stick that on a monitor or stick that in a room on a tripod and you've got, a small table. You can sit there and just that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It's versatile and it addresses a number of different spaces. So, but again, this is the first one that Jabra brought to market. So this has been around for 2 to 3 years now. And the Panicast 20 is our newer video model. So, both still fantastic and slightly different use cases. But, when it comes to the room, it's what you see back there. And then again, coming out in a couple months, the video bar system which is the Android-based all-in-one with our own touch controller. That'll be shipping out hopefully, mid-year here. So that expands the portfolio a bit, and it's pretty much what we see here, just a slight difference in length and thickness. So.
Very cool. Anyone out there using Jabra, jump on, put a comment down so we can see if you're using some Jabra video products or even the Jabra audio products. And Josh is going to walk us through some of these cool pucks. These is Jabra. You said Jabra is the originator of these pucks that we see out there. I know I've got like a Yealing puck sitting off in the corner there, and I thought it was the coolest thing since sliced bread and peanut butter and jelly, and I packed it everywhere for a long time.
Jabra led the way with them, right? They came out with the first hockey puck, and it got that name. They were so popular, they were quickly other competitors in the space quickly picked up and said, we need to bring our own out there because, it's been a very popular product for Jabra, and that was the Speak line. So you've got, I've got over here the Speak 750, and it looks a little different. These on screen are the Speak 2 series, which was just announced a couple weeks back. And so you've got the 75, which is the larger model, the 40 and the 55 there. And they've kind of revamped what had been a flagship, super popular product to be, you have advancements in chipsets, you have advancements in all kinds of AI capabilities. There's a little layer that'll coach you when you're getting in a non-optimal place in the room, you're not being heard on the other side very well. It'll start to get red and let you know, hey, you need to kind of come back closer to the mic so that you're heard nice and clearly on the other side. Improvements in audio. From what I've been told, I haven't gotten my hands on one yet. I'm eager, but from what I've experienced and been told as well is that the people on the other end, you can tell when you're talking to someone on a speakerphone, usually, as good as they may be, you can kind of hear that. And right. These have pretty much done away with any sense of that. It's just a clear sound where they have done a lot of work to remove background noise without negatively affecting the voice that's being captured at the same time.
So what I'm hearing, go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to ask Josh a question about, like when you look at these pucks and traditionally they're for, conference rooms, meeting rooms, that kind of stuff. Do you see a future where this really becomes kind of a remote worker kit? Not necessarily the big powerful ones, but more of a let's create an environment where you can see my microphones in front of my face. I've got earbuds in, and obviously I could go set this up. But do you see a day coming where maybe the whole shift becomes to this? I'll call augmented reality of it, as if you're standing in the room with the next person, where you're not plugging in a bunch of stuff to your ears and your microphone in front of your face, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I can definitely see the tides are turning in a interesting way. We're still watching and seeing how the hybrid world actually shakes out. And, it's every company that goes into a hybrid mode is, they're doing a different flavor of it. And the numbers are still shaking out with how much there's actually going to be in person versus remote, but enabling those remote workers is becoming much more of a focus of how do we do that? So much of our target audience is no longer in the office space. They're at the home space or the wherever space. These devices are primarily intended for personal use or some small huddle uses. The 75 does have some features and a mount that will allow it to be utilized in a conference room scenario. But prior to the Speak 2, like the Speak 750, I believe it's the 750, that's what's actually paired with the Panicast and those Meet Anywhere bundles. So the Meet Anywhere bundle comes with the Panicast, your Speak speakerphone, and then if it's a Meet Plus, your stand. Definitely, I don't know if there are plans. I can only imagine there are. I don't know if there are plans for the Speaks 2s to be bundled up, but it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, in my previous roles where you're talking to customers about what they need, there's a large number of them that are like, yeah, we need to solve conference rooms, but we also need to solve home. And home is not just the webcam. We need to solve the webcam, the audio, the entire experience. And so I definitely see that being more and more in focus, both for customers and then accordingly with the OEMs that provide the solutions.
Right.
So that's 75, that Speak to 75. Here's what I think. When I see that, what I think about is every one of those, Cisco's or Polycom star phones that are in a conference room being recycled, and you've got this puck, or this probably a larger size puck than the personal ones, if it's the 75 as an example, sitting in the conference room, and you come in and you connect to it, and you've got your laptop in front of you, and you have your conference, and other people are around, and other people can take part in your conference. And if there's another camera that you're connecting to, great. But otherwise, that sits in the middle of the room on a table now, and that's now your conference phone, your star phone.
Yeah,
that seems like that's a proper replacement for that.
Yes and no. It depends, because you do actually have conference phone models from other OEMs out there, right? You've got Poly and Yealink that actually create phones that are meant to be your conference room phones, that are star phone or tripod like shaped, right? They're out there. Not only do they have the speaker phone and mics on board, but you actually have a touch interface for dialing and calling, so they can be a standalone device. This definitely brings the audio solution to the room, but it would be a bring your own device scenario if that were the case,
Right.
by walking in with your laptop and plugging this in. Now that 75 can be mounted in room so that it's not easy to walk off with it. And that way you can come in, connect it to your laptop, and you have a nice crystal clear audio experience for everyone at the table. Or if you're pairing it with USB cameras in the room for a kind of a different type of room solution, then you can do that too. But it's not an exact replacement. It all depends on how you're outfitting the room.
There's obviously, working through the room scenarios in organizations, particularly the organizations that have several meeting rooms. That's top of mind for them, right? As they look to teams and they go, we know we want teams, we know we're going to deploy teams, we've got to go solve for these rooms here before we kind of make this migration in teams. And so they're out hunting for the right solution to put in that room, because there are a lot of options out there, but zeroing in on the options that are certified with teams and that are good quality, and there's a lot out there. So Jabra brings to the table some really cool solutions, it looks like.
They do. It's like I said, they've been in the certified audio space for a long time, very prominent in that part of it. The room area for us is a little newer in the last year or so, but it is growing fast, and it is growing in a way that is a premium experience, solving for a lot of AI needed cases. So, and a great example is Microsoft signature rooms, where they are talking front row. What is the optimal setup for that? And Microsoft's materials, as well as what they actually have set up in a great number of their signature rooms at Redmond, they have the Panicast 50 as part of that signature room, because it so properly captures that wide angle, the full room, as you have that table kind of half crescent shape lined up against that eye level. It's an optimal device for solutions like that. And so as you hear companies say, let's talk front row, let's explore what that looks like. Why do we need it? Where do we need it? The Panicast 50 is also one that is bubbled up to be one of the leaders in that space.
Nice. Well, we're gonna push off, Josh. This has been super cool, man. So stick with us here. We're going to talk about more room stuff. So, or more devices, because it's important through the whole transition of an organization's migration into Microsoft Teams from their legacy solution. So what I'd like right now is Brandon Bradley. Brandon, you do such a great job of walking through what onboarding a customer looks like, because everyone out there that is not a Teams phone consumer today, but is working on it or thinking about it, or it's in their roadmap, what they're thinking is, what do I do? Like, how, look, Microsoft has an amazing phone system, but they sure don't make it easy when you go, I've got direct routing, Operator Connect, and I've got some mobile stuff, and I got all these different things. But here's Teams phone. It's not some package that's all tidied up, right? So you need someone like a G12 to kind of bring things together and make it that easy experience for onboarding. So Brandon, why don't you explain to the audience here what TCAP is and how people can onboard into Microsoft Teams easily.
Yeah, I'm going to pretend I know how to share my screen here. Like I haven't ever done it before.
Only 9 times.
Only 9 times, not to mention the thousands of times a day I do it.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
You might do a few demos. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I always have to wing these demos because I never know how conversation's going to go, and then I get left with 5 minutes to demo. So I'm going to blame it on Rick. But let's back up and let's just talk about, from making that decision. I'm going to take the approach of Operator Connect with G12 Communications, and we've really spent a lot of time trying to just streamline and automate as much as possible that customer journey and onboarding experience into the Microsoft phone system, and then bringing that whole ecosystem together, whether it's the meeting rooms or whatever. So I'm just going to make a plug for our own website that you've got an option to come start a free trial, and when you click on that, it's going to launch you right over to our TCAP system, which is the Teams calling automation platform, and it's going to ask you to register. And then obviously once you register, it's going to launch you off into the account, which I've already registered. So I'm going to switch over to what that looks like. Once you're in here, you simply pair your Microsoft tenant to our TCAP platform, and we do the rest of the work from there. We bring in all of the resource accounts that are used for auto attendance, call queues, whatever you might need those for. We bring in all of your users, and then we take it a step further, and we indicate to you whether you've got a not licensed user, a licensed user, or an assigned user. Whether we can even see if you've got, say, a Microsoft calling plan, or maybe you've already got direct routing in place. We can see that, so we can then begin to help you manage your journey into the Teams phone system in kind of a more single pane of glass fashion. The one thing I did do while you guys were talking and I decided to stop listening for a minute is I decided to pick on this OC user for demonstration purposes. And you can see that the user is not allocated, which means he has a license. He just doesn't have a phone number. So I'm going to pop over to the Teams admin center because I want to bring this all together and then call that the demo. So you've got your users, and I can see that there is this OC user one that is in the system, and you notice he does not have a license. And I've even gone as far as to log in as that user, and you can see he has no dial pad, so he has no ability to make an outbound call. The quick call out here to tie it to our conversation with Josh is this user can still participate in the Teams meetings, the Teams rooms, that kind of thing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring it all together and add that PSTN phone component
here live, like live. Right. You're going to do it right now.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna hope that this doesn't backfire in my face and I have to eat crow.
That's a little I'm already sweating bullets for you. I know. Man. It's like live. Yeah, this is like Steve Jobs level stuff right here.
Yeah. So I've gone in, I'm editing the user from the TCAP platform, from a direct routing perspective or a Microsoft calling plan perspective. You're going to have to manage this component inside of the Teams admin center. And while we give you the tools where you can still do that, what we've done is we've supplemented our platform to allow you to do it from right within, again, our automation platform. So I'm going to assign this 720 number to the user. I'm going to save the changes, and that's going to fire off the whole automated process. And you can see right here, it's probably pretty small on the screen. If I hover over this, it tells me that it's updating. And what that's doing is it's actually assigning that phone number back up into the Teams admin center to the user. So while we give that a minute to do that, I'm going to sign out of the user. I find that it syncs faster if I sign out versus just waiting for it to update. So I'm going to sign out of him. And then we're going to go back and we're going to check to see if we've got that number assigned. I'm going to refresh my view. And you can see OC user 1 now has a status of OK. That means we've gotten the acknowledgement from Microsoft that that phone number is assigned to the user in Teams, and that user should be able to log in, place a phone call, receive a phone call. So I'm off on my other screen signing back into that OC user here real quick. I'd show you my sign in, but I don't want to put a password on the screen. Even though it's going to ask me to. Let me pull this.
So far, so good.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, this is it.
And while that guy signs in, let's refresh the view here and see if that user actually has the phone number. Oh, it's going to make me reconfirm my admin user. You can see OC user 1 does in fact have the number. If we look at that user, you're going to see that it is indicating that it is an Operator Connect number, right? And we've done all of this from the G12 communications platform. And here comes the user. I'm going to have to pull Teams back over onto once it pops up back onto the screen. And the moment of truth.
Yeah, let's see. I think your bullets are about to sweat. I don't think it's going to happen, man.
Don't say that. It certainly is. Let's see if we can get this to.
I'm answering a real technical question for our engineering team.
Yeah. See, you spoke too soon. You didn't let me finish my demo. I'm talking about our engineering team on the comments there. I'm going, it's a 5-minute process because you do have to remove some calling plans. We'll just throw this question up there because it's a really good one. While you're doing that, I'll show this question. Is it seamless even if a customer has existing Teams voice or calling plans on there? So there's two different things that could happen in this scenario. Number one, I'm going to hide this so everybody sees this question now. I'm going to hide it now because I don't like blocking Josh's face out of my screen here. So number one, if they have a calling plan, there's a script to go remove the calling plan, and it happens all while transitioning the phone numbers. The phone numbers are moved over. We run a script to move the phone numbers over. So when phone numbers migrate, let's say at 7 a.m., at 7:02, those numbers are all migrated. Just to be really clear, everyone is used to porting numbers as being some massive process and a real headache because there's been this cut type of thing. In this environment, the migration of phone numbers is relatively seamless now. The migration of phone numbers is just a database change, and our team is really, really good at it because we've been doing it for a very, very long time. But what happens here is if they've got a calling plan, it needs to be removed before our system TCAP can go in there and layer on our calling plan. However, there's some scripts to run, some PowerShell scripts that the team runs, because what happens is if you want to wholesale remove those calling plans, we can wholesale remove those calling plans. The other thing is that if the customer is using direct routing from, let's say, another provider as an example, and they're using direct routing, and they can go and layer on Operator Connect. We run a different script to have the users point to Operator Connect versus direct routing. In that scenario, it's actually very fast because now you're really just pointing the direction of the user to use a separate sort of service than the service. It's almost like having a PRI plug. I'm going to call direct routing a PRI because I'm going to equate direct routing to some legacy stuff. Watch that. How is that? That's got to be a burn to some folks out there. And so anyway, so let's say you got direct routing, AKA PRI. It's not, but not to, anyway. And then you've got Operator Connect. Operator Connect's like SIP because it just runs in concurrence with your DR as an example. And then your users are then pointed to the, from a calling plan perspective or from a policy perspective, which PSTN link to use essentially. How right is that, Brandon, as the Chief Technology Officer and as me just out there blabbering everything? How accurate was that? I'm not going to lie. I was only partially listening because you jinxed my demo.
It's exactly how it happens.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely what we've experienced with Teams is, most of the time we can create a very seamless experience, whether it's migrating from Microsoft Teams calling or direct routing. I've got a team sitting behind me that's certified, at that Microsoft Teams voice engineer level that is here to assist. They've got the PowerShells pre-built that they can share, and we certainly help our current customers with that migration and that transition. And there are times where we do see Microsoft is they're not flawless by any means. They like you can see I've pinned up a phone call, right? So my Operator Connect phone is working, but there's a sync issue right now between what is going on between Microsoft and this Teams client, where the dial pad just isn't showing yet. The phone system is functioning. I've got the phone call up, and we see this from time to time where it's it could be a timing issue. It could be 30 seconds from now that dial pad shows up. It could be 24 hours from now.
Well, let's let that cook for a second. Tell us more about TCAP. We'll let that thing cook for just a bit. And then you've got 6 minutes before this show, or 5 minutes before this show's over. So let's see if it pops up between them. But tell us the rest about, like, I like to tell people about the triggers and the telephony components in there so they can go get some numbers and all that good stuff.
Yeah. One of the big things that we do see when it's customers first coming to the Microsoft ecosystem for the phone system is, and I think I have daily conversations with customers that are leaving legacy Cisco, legacy Avaya, ShoreTel, Mitel, whatever the flavor is, and they kind of want that parity of, well, I've got this many auto attendants, this many call queues. One thing that we can do is we can leverage, and I don't know if here we go, the builder. We can build custom templates for our customers, and we have a couple basic loaded here that can go out and pre-build those auto attendants and call queues and the resource accounts that are required for that, so we can take a huge amount of upfront work off of the customer's hands by automating their whatever their auto attendant needs are, or their call queue needs. So that's a big value add. Otherwise, you're going to sit in the Teams admin center and you're going to manually build them, however you.
What would you say? So if you were building a mildly, there's one in there that's mildly complex. It's the basic or some 1.5. Or if you were building that, okay, if an organization was out there building this, and this is your typical call auto attendant, this option, this option, this option, this option, what would you say that takes from a time perspective to build a Microsoft Teams versus clicking on a button and having this built for you?
I mean, again, this level, it's probably gonna take you an hour-ish, give or take, if you know what you're doing. Like, if you're already well versed in how Microsoft's logic is built for auto attendance call queues. Whereas this is, if you tell us the basic construct of what you want, we'll build it in a template fashion and we'll deploy it, and it takes minutes, right? Nice. So it costs, significantly less from a man-hour perspective.
That's phenomenal. Coming from having done several telephony projects where I built out call queue after call queue, and it's a lot of time spent. Like you said, even when you know what you're doing, it's a lot of time spent. Boiling it down to minutes that's phenomenal.
That's pretty cool, right? It just writes it, creates them all. And if you have the resource accounts, it lays them in. If you don't have the resource accounts, you just go pick up the resource accounts. And then all you do is update the text to voice transcription, right? You just write in your scripts and you're done. It's pretty cool.
Yep. And the only thing I'll call out, since we've got people listening that might be salivating at this point, the one thing we can't do is the resource account. We can go out and create that user in your Azure Active Directory for you. The one thing we do not and cannot do is assign the resource phone license to that user. We do not have the ability to make purchasing decisions. Even though it's a free license, you still have to go, quote, purchase it. Yeah. We don't have that ability. So, for customers or potential customers or partners listening, just know we'll go create the user for you, but you've got to go assign the license.
Brandon, if there's an issue with let's say syncing, or there's an issue, how do we let people know that there's an issue?
Yeah, so we can set up, set up custom triggers. If the customer wants to know certain behaviors going on with their account, like there's maybe something failed, calling got disabled, or there's some change that occurred, we can set up triggers that send email alerts out to the person of record that wants that email. So we can kind of automate some base level alarming to kind of keep you in tune to what's going on in our automation platform and how it may impact your team's phone system. And then, of course, we give you the ability to self-manage your number inventory. Right? So I've got a list of numbers. They're all assigned. Let's say I onboard a new employee. I can come over and I can either order a number, an existing number in inventory with G12 communications. So I can just grab a number and order it. I can request a specific area code with request new block, or I can port. Maybe I've got another carrier that I want to, swing from. I can fill out my port request, LOA, all of that stuff, and then G12 steps in and handles the entire transition seamlessly. So we're 1 minute over. So there's the demo.
Man, that's cool. That's awesome. If you're interested in some more detailed demo of TCAP and onboarding to G12, you can just ping us in the comments, and we'll schedule some time with you and all that good stuff. But I want to take a minute to thank Josh Blalock for coming on the show, wearing the hat, and walking us through the Jabra. One question for you before we go: what does a video evangelist, chief video evangelist, do?
Good question. Yeah. So it's coming in and it's amplifying the efforts that are already there from a marketing level, but really it's leveraging a lot of the existing social presence that's there, and using that to continue to get the story out there a little bit wider, a little bit more broadly, and in some creative ways. So kind of stepping outside of your typical marketing constructs. They're great and effective in their own right, but this is really to dive a bit deeper on the, grassroots social aspect of talking about the product in ways that are identifiable to your average person out there. So
love it. Well, Josh, you do an amazing job on your YouTube channel. If you don't follow Josh, we'll put his YouTube link in the comments here on LinkedIn. Make sure you follow him on YouTube. Watch out for his videos. Subscribe to him here on LinkedIn. Hit the little alarm bell so you can get notifications that he's coming at you. Right.
Appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you for the opportunity.
So much, Josh.
Awesome. Well, everyone, if you're an organization looking to migrate to Microsoft Teams as your phone system, if you're a partner selling into organizations that want to migrate to a Microsoft Teams phone system, let us know. Follow us here. We do every single week, every Friday, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. We talk about Microsoft Teams, components of Microsoft Teams, how you onboard to Microsoft Teams Voice. It's a massive movement in the phone business to migrate to Microsoft Teams because of the efficiency and cost savings. I think every organization in the world should migrate to Microsoft Teams Phone because the efficiencies are just getting started. Microsoft Teams Phone is the very beginning of business productivity because there's so many tools available to you to increase your productivity. It's crazy. And come and follow us and you'll learn a whole lot more about it. But anyway, thank you, everyone. We appreciate your attendance. We'll catch you later. See you next Friday. Brandon, catch you later.
Thank
See
you.
you, Josh.
Have a great weekend, all.
Bye, guys.